Hey folks, welcome back to Colin's Corner.
You are the coolest, Colin. You are the man. Give it up for Colin's
Corner. Today on the corner, we are going to discuss Flagstone. Here at Great Deal Products, we have two kinds of Flagstone. We have our full color range Flagstone, which has grays and browns and a little bit of orange and red in there, as well as some blues, some purples, and we have your standard blue. All these pallets are about 4,000 pounds. We sell our Flagstone by the ton. If you get less than a ton, we can prorate that, but we do sell it by weight. So if you were to get a full pallet, it would be about 2 tons. Now, when you're laying these down, some people lay them right on grass. Some people lay them on a nice bedding layer of like 21 AA or 6A, a nice stone base, solid, tamped down, and then you can throw a little number 9 chipstone down underneath it to set your bedding layer and level everything off so that you have a nice, clean, smooth area to walk on. They will hold up to years and years of foot traffic, fire pits, you know, the whole range. So because of the irregular nature of the Flagstone steps, you definitely either want to put a base layer down of some sort of chipstone that will allow you to kind of fill in some of the gaps. What you don't want is air pockets underneath your stone. That's where you're gonna get breakage when you step on it and stuff like that, especially if you apply heavy weight to it. You don't want pockets underneath the stone with gaps. Another route you could go is putting a cement slab and actually laying a mortar underneath, like a wet mortar underneath, that will fill up the gaps underneath the stone and reduce the air pockets. And then you go ahead and mortar in between the joints. Now, when you have these, a great way to go about setting some of the more irregular pieces is you want to, you know, lay them in. If you can use a full-size piece, that's great, but you will come to areas where you need a smaller piece. At that time, I recommend using a chisel. So when you're trying to split some Flagstone, what you want to do is take a chisel, score a line along the Flagstone, and eventually it'll just crack somewhere near the line. Generally, it doesn't always crack on the line. It does happen. So I've already got this line started, and I'll keep working on the chisel. It's easiest if you try and follow the grain. However, I need shorter pieces. You know, I need pieces that are about a foot long. It helps to have a nice chisel. This is just our shop use chisel, but a nice sharp chisel makes a big difference. And as you get to the edge, that's where you will often get it to break, is when you're working on the edge there. Another thing you can do is take the back of your hammer. If you have one of these pointy hammers, you can kind of work right along that line. Especially if you know you're going to be able to put this side down, you don't have to worry about marring it up. The other side is just fine. There we go. See, right there along that chisel line, it moved off a little bit, but for the most part, we're right along that line. So now I'm going to split these both, try and split this one kind of along here, and I'm going to split this one kind of along here. So I'm just going to try and follow the grain here. This will be an easier split following the grain. I like to go through once and just give it a one tap create my line to follow. And then go back over it. That way, I know I got a score line before I even, do that. Still use that. I know I got a score line before I worry about breaking it. If I only make it to here with the score before it breaks, it may break off that way or off this way. So if I can get the score line in before I really start whacking at it. You can also use an angle grinder with a masonry disc on there. Get a nice score line and then break it that way. However, when you do something like that, a lot of times you eliminate some of the natural edge. You know, here we have a nice, really nice live edge, but you can see under here where it has been cut by a saw, that edge is much more formal and doesn't lend itself to the natural look that you get with a lot of these stones. As you can see here, you have a cut here, and it's much less natural than some of these live edges that are really beautiful. One other thing to consider when you're doing your flagstone project is that you want to bring, if you are doing a bedding layer, you want to bring your base layer, your 21 AA or your 6A out 3 to 4 inches beyond your beyond the edge of your flagstone. Otherwise, you're going to have tipping issues when you step on the edges. So it's a good idea to come out a little bit beyond and then build your soil up to cover that. So those are some tips in using flagstone around your yard. This is a beautiful product for anybody's outdoor living space. Really adds a beautiful natural flair to you know, your sitting area as you're, you know, enjoying the summer months by your grill or your fire pit, or even just sitting around, you know, having drinks with friends. You know, this is a great natural addition to your yard. Yeah, you can make flagstone walls where you just take them and you stack them on top of each other, create a nice border for your gardens, retain some of your soil, and it's a really beautiful addition. Now, if I were going to build a stacked wall using the flagstone, that's when I would really consider getting some of this really thick stuff. You can make a real nice wall real quick with some of this thicker flagstone. Really builds a beautiful wall. But as you can see here, what we've done up here is we've planted thyme in between our pavers, and you know, not only does it smell great, not only can you eat it, but it just has a very cool look, very soft, softens those hard edges of these very formal straight edge pavers. So that is a route that you could consider. You know, it's definitely an attractive look, absolutely. And you know, moss also works really well and is very pretty, but you need the conditions to be right in order for your moss to take hold. You need shady, moist areas. So something to consider when you're trying to figure out what you're going to fill in between the cracks. So we have these kits here. This is the rock and binder kit, and essentially you get your glue and your pea gravel all in one bucket. And so you can just take the whole bucket out there and start filling in the joints. We also sell just the binding agent, where if you were to grab some pea gravel from us and come in and grab the binding agent, that will just glue. It's basically glue to hold your poly sand or your pea gravel or your 6A natural, depending on how big your gaps are. You can use an assortment of materials. But those are some of the solutions that we have for filling in those cracks. So one other thing you can do with Flagstone is you can stack them to make a wall. But Bobby, what are you doing? I'm clearly making a video here. Don't you have work you could be doing?
My bad, sorry.
Yeah. Get out of here. Get out of here. Sorry about that.